Ah, ACOTAR, the starter kit and direct progenitor of the modern romantasy genre in my eyes. Book Talk goes absolutely gaga over this book, and I do not understand why. Now, I acknowledge that I am not the target audience for this. I do not read romance much, if at all, but I heard from a friend of a friend that ACOTAR and its sequels were good, so naturally I decided to seek them out, and I was severely underwhelmed to outright enraged by them. The popularity of these books astonishes me because so much about them has this awkward adolescent quality that is sharply contrasted with the often very adult-oriented and unpleasant subject matter that the writing is just not equipped to deal with. It tries to mash romance that wouldn't be out of place in some Sailor Moon fanfiction you wrote in 10th grade with some rather unsavory subjects like grape and assault, all the while having nothing really to show for it besides the whole affair being mean-spirited and unpleasant. But lo, Fey with wings. That makes everything better, right? Seriously, after A Court of Silver Flames, I've tapped out from the rest of this series and this author's work in general. Never has something that is billed as romance been so unromantic, emotionally draining, and not to mention so bloated and boring. Seriously, Silver Flames clocks in at 784 pages, and the plot amounts to someone doing the nasty with her Pilates instructor while she's being emotionally abused by her sister and her sister's rich husband. Jeez. But like a parasite in an undercooked sandwich, the series wouldn't leave me. I was utterly fascinated with it, particularly because there's a surprising amount of elements that, if handled with a decent amount of care and, dare I say, a strange being known as an editor, this could be a decent fantasy saga. That's the baffling paradox of these books. There are good elements and ideas in them, but they're executed poorly, and it's clear the author is more interested in seeing characters make gaga eyes at each other or do the nasty than tell an engaging plot. So, with way too much time on my hands, I took it upon myself to start working on my own reimagining of the original ACOTAR trilogy. I will be covering the first book, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Each video will correspond with an act in the story. I've done this so it's easier to manage for me, plus I want to make it digestible for all of you as well. This version is only using character, organization, and location names. Otherwise, this is a completely different story. It's basically fanfiction. But here I am taking the base elements here and expanding on them in a way that I feel will make for the best possible story. I'm going to be straightforward and go through a rough outline of it as if I'm pitching you the story. Think of this as an audiobook of sorts. Ready? Let's go. We open on a wall that has stood for 1,000 years. This is the Fissure, my version of the wall from the original books. Instead of a giant invisible wall, it's an actual physical wall that's been built in the middle of the only easily accessible passage through the mountains. It is the last remnant of an ancient war between humans and the Fey courts of northern Prythian. The human kingdoms of southern Prythian made an accord with the courts a millennium ago that neither would ever interfere in each other's affairs for the foreseeable future. Thus, the Fissure was built, but it does little to keep other Fey creatures out, for there are still beasts that prowl the forests and the dark places of the world. And what's worse, the Fissure did little to prevent the advances of the armies of Zagreus, the king of the Night Court, whose forces have already swallowed most of the Fey courts and are now making their way south. There is seemingly little that can stand in their way. Little, that is, until now. Cut to a late summer morning in a dense forest. We're introduced to our hero, Feyre. She's been tracking a deer for an hour with plans to bring it home for her family. We really emphasize her resourcefulness, her intelligence, her skill with a bow. Our archetypical heroine who we want to root for. She's got her head on a swivel because her home village is located very close to the Fissure, and there's a not zero chance she'll encounter a Fey creature in these woods. The Fey are treated with fear and suspicion by everyone, and she's right to be wary of her surroundings. She spots the deer and readies her bow before she notices something else prowling in the bush. A massive wolf. The wolf leaps at her. Feyre runs away but ends up cornered by the creature. It's about to kill her when a great beast explodes out of the brush and shields her from the monster's claws. The beast and the wolf have a short scuffle which ends with the beast cleaving the wolf in two with one swing of a giant sword. In shock but glad to be alive, Feyre finally gets a good look at her savior. He's a big scary lion man with a big ass sword and arrows and spears stuck in his back. The beast takes one look at her, then collapses in a bloody wreck. Feyre stares in disbelief at this big thing that just saved her life, now seemingly lying dead. The wolf is too big to be a normal animal, which made it a wild Fey. This lion man was also Fey, yet he saved Feyre's life. She doesn't know what to think about any of this now that he's dead. Suddenly, the creature breathes in and reaches for her, begging for help. She doesn't know what to do, considering the way her morning is gone. She simply tells the monster that she'll be back soon, then leaves. Feyre soon returns to town. The village she lives in is called Gothic, and is a crappy place to live. It's poor, sitting on the edge of the human kingdoms, and filled with all kinds of transients and rejects. The Forgotten live here, along with a lot of soldiers and mercenaries coming in and out due to people taking jobs guarding the fissure. Meanwhile, everyone lives in fear of the Night Court coming for them, as nothing yet has stopped the war machine's advance. There is talk of rebellion, of a possible alliance between humans and Fae against this common enemy, but just as many people have given up hope and are waiting for their inevitable enslavement. Feyre heads home where we meet my versions of Elaine and Nesta. This leads me into the biggest change that I'm doing with this one, namely that the sisters will be the central characters. Their dynamic goes like this. Feyre is the level-headed one, Nesta is the angry, passionate one, and Elaine is thoughtful and gentle. Plus, I'm actually bothering to give Elaine a personality outside of being nice and a prop. One of the biggest issues plot-wise with the original book is the lack of a substantial role for the sisters outside of background props, and means to make us feel oh so bad for Feyre. Here, they're going to have an actual role in the story and have character instead of it all being an afterthought. Their father is not in the picture. He abandoned them in this village after their mother died about 6 years ago. They used to be rich, but after the death of their mother, their father gambled it all away and left them poor. So while they were out on a trip to find work, good old dad abandoned his 3 daughters and left without a word. He had absolutely no role in the original book besides being very flimsy ammunition to make the audience feel oh so bad for Miss Feyre Sue, so I might as well make him more interesting by showing the impact his abandonment has had on the sisters. All of them are working to keep the house afloat. Nesta gets by doing menial labor whenever she can manage, Feyre hunts and trades things, Elaine grows some vegetables that they sell at market. They're all pitching in somehow. No eldest sister sitting around doing nothing, or youngest child sitting around being as useless as a broken lamp. A big thing here is that this version of Elaine suffers from a nervous disorder, which makes it hard for her to leave the house. She's sweet-natured and gentle, real Disney princess vibes, but she has these episodes that look like panic attacks that make functioning beyond the safety of the home difficult. One of the things that presses the family is that they need a special herb that can calm Elaine's nerves, but it's expensive. Think like fantasy Lexapro. This combined with the shared traumas of having to survive together causes a good deal of friction with the sisters, which in my view is a much more substantive source of drama rather than isn't Feyre so put upon? Nesta tends to project a lot of the pain as anger onto Feyre. As a result, Feyre and Nesta butt heads about a lot of things. But it's not like how it was in the original book where Nesta is just a petty mean girl. In this version, Nesta's anger and hot-headedness comes from a place of pain and regret that can come into play as the story goes on. Feyre, meanwhile, deals with their situation through keeping herself composed. She believes she needs to remain strong for her family despite their harsh circumstances, but it's hard. She wants a better life for herself, but that was almost given to her by a soldier who passed through here named Kaelin, who appears in some flashbacks. But she chose her family over him, and a part of her regrets it. Another big change here is how magic works. Unlike in the original, which used magic more for plot convenience rather than world building, I'm going more for softer magic if we're borrowing Sanderson's classification. It's more connected to nature, and it's utilized through rituals, invocations, and special objects like talismans, while Fae creatures don't need any of that and can just use it as a reflex. The ability to use magic shows up randomly in humans. It's also not hereditary, so if your parents were magic users, that doesn't guarantee you will inherit their powers. Additionally, there's a religion that dominates the human lands, the Testament of St. Jordan. It's a church that formed in opposition to the Fae and is not keen on magic users. To them, magic is the untamable power of nature that must be controlled. Anyone who shows any signs of having magical abilities are summarily rounded up and forced to undergo grueling tests to suppress their abilities. There's a significant reward for people who report magic users to the authorities. This is especially bad because Elaine is a magic user. Her anxiety attacks are her glimpsing into the future, plus her ability to grow vegetables in the bad soil is a sign that she has great healing powers, and the people in the neighborhood will gladly rat out each other if it means gaining a little extra coin, what with this being a poor village. When the day finally ends, Feyre turns in for the night. All the while, she can't stop thinking about the beast and how it saved her life. In the dead of night, Feyre decides to go out and help the beast. She packs some food and healing herbs. She makes her way to him and finds him hiding among the bushes nearby. "You shouldn't have come back," the beast rumbled. "I am a danger to you." "You saved my life. It's only fair I try the same for you." Feyre offers to use the healing herbs and salves. The beast tells her that it's useless, but he graciously accepts the food. She offers instead to remove the spears and arrows stuck in his back, and he accepts this. While she's helping him, she noticed that his torn cloak has a coat of arms with a rose. He then explains who he is. He is Tamlin of the Spring Court. He is a fugitive of the Night King and in search of a witch who can cure him of a curse upon him. He reveals a stake in his back from which terrible thorns come out and dig into his skin. Feyre asks who put this curse upon him. Tamlin explains that it was Amarantha, the devoted daughter of the Night King and a master of dark magic. Tamlin explains that the curse is what made him this monstrous form, and he barely escaped captivity after learning about this witch known only as the Weaver. Feyre mentions she's heard of the Weaver, but only in stories. All Feyre knows is that the Weaver lives at the center of a swamp filled with poisonous vipers, and that anyone who ventures into it is never seen again. As Feyre removes the spears and arrows, she tries to touch the stake, but then thorns come out of it and try to jump into her arms. Tamlin pulls away at the last moment to save her. He tells her that if anyone tries to remove it, then the thorns will dig into their flesh as well, as they never stop growing. Hence his search for the Weaver, because he believes she may be the only one who can remove it safely. "You endure it constantly, don't you?" she asked. Tamlin shook his head. "The pain is a friend now." There is a resistance forming in northern Prythian, Tamlin explains, and he has been in contact with agents who will assist him on his quest. He believes that if he can cure his curse, then he will be able to assist the resistance in overthrowing the Night King's forces once and for all. There are small cells of resistance already forming in the southern kingdoms. Feyre balks at this, saying that humans and Fae could never work together in her lifetime. Besides, Fae would sooner eat humans than help them. "Is that what they say about us now?" Tamlin shook his head. "How sad. Our mutual isolation does little to help either of us." "It's kept us safe," Feyre retorted. "Without it, your kind would have invaded us 10 times over in the past millennium." "Fae are not so uniform in spite of what your bedtime stories tell you. Would you assume all humans would be the same?" Feyre's expression darkened as she thought of her father. "Maybe." "Do not allow your mind to be clouded so. No one is purely one thing. We are each as multifaceted as gems. Always remember that." My conception for this version of Tamlin in general would be that of a classical knight of legend. He's polite, courteous, chivalrous, and wise. He commends Feyre for her bravery and is gracious for her help. He bows and bids her farewell. He tells her that he must go, because if he is found with her, then she would also be in danger. But he assures her that if she is ever in danger, he will not hesitate to return the favor and protect her. When Feyre returns that night, Nesta is awake and demands to know where Feyre has been. Feyre tells her nowhere. Nesta presses, and Feyre finally admits that she was helping a Fae who saved her life. Nesta is furious. It results in an ugly fight between the sisters that Elaine awakes to. It turns into a very mom and dad are fighting situation that the sisters decide just to let go. Feyre is still nervous about the whole situation, wondering if she made the right choice. The next day, things are seemingly normal. Feyre prepares breakfast and the sisters eat in silence. Then Feyre is about to leave to go hunting, when suddenly... a baleful horn is heard, the horn of the Night Court. The villagers gather outside in fear as a legion of Valyrian guards show up. These guys are bad news, the elite guard from the Summer Court, a Fae court known for its vicious warriors. They're dressed in terrifying armor, brandishing savage weapons. At the head of this terrible procession stand 2 figures, Amarantha and a very big scary figure clad in dark armor, whose name is whispered in fear by the villagers. The Knight of Thorns. Quick side note here, this version of the High Fae is sticking to the whole hot elves idea. The High Fae, as in the ones that don't look like weird wildlife or creatures, just look like hot people with pointed ears. Think Tolkien elves, which is exactly what they were in the original book because it couldn't have been bothered to come up with anything more interesting than that. Anyway, back to the plot. Amarantha in the flesh is basically an evil Galadriel, just oozing evil and malice, plus a serious lack of patience for being in this dumpy village. Her distaste for humans is evident in every action. The Knight of Thorns is another story. This guy stands 7 feet tall, is clad in thorny black armor, has burning red eyes, and a sword that turns into a bladed whip. This thing, whatever it is, has a reputation of ending entire battles single-handedly. The Knight of Thorns is an agent of death and the most dangerous warrior in the Night King's army, and he's here. Things are not looking good. Amarantha announces that the village is effective today under the command of the Night Court and demands the people of the village reveal where they are keeping the traitor known as Tamlin. Some villagers try to protest, so Amarantha orders the knight to cut them down without batting an eye. Amarantha then casually uses one of the Illyrian's capes to wipe the blood which flew onto her face. Everyone is called out of their homes to the main square for questioning. Instantly, Elaine begins to have a panic attack. Feyre tries to keep Elaine calm as they're all brought out. Things are tense as everyone is being interrogated. People are terrified, children are crying and holding their mothers. Amarantha meets Feyre and questions her. Feyre tries her hardest to keep her composure, but Amarantha sees through her guise and knows that Feyre knows something. Amarantha, ever the shifty one, turns her gaze to Elaine. Elaine shaking like a leaf and barely keeping herself from having a breakdown. Amarantha, just to be super evil, uses the knight to threaten Elaine. Nesta tries to fight back, but is forced into the dirt along with Feyre. Amarantha gives Feyre one last chance to talk. Instead, Feyre spits in Amarantha's face. So Amarantha orders the knight to kill the sisters. Suddenly, out of the sky, an angry roar of a beast is heard. Tamlin streaks out of the air and stops the knight's blade. Everyone is stunned into silence. Then Tamlin releases a blast of wind that sends everyone sprawling to the ground. Feyre is knocked unconscious. Feyre quickly comes to as Nesta shakes her awake. A battle has broken out in the town with the Night Court's forces and the villagers in full-on combat. It's complete chaos. The sisters resolve to try to escape, but have lost Elaine. They wade through the confusion, trying to find their sister while fighting off soldiers. Meanwhile, the sounds of Tamlin and the knight's blades ring loudly above the battle as if to underscore the conflict. They finally find Elaine, who is cowering in a corner. The sisters, now reunited, are about to find horses to ride away, but the knight is right behind them. He hasn't let go of his order to kill them. Then Tamlin appears again to protect the sisters. While holding off the knight, he asks Feyre if she trusts him. She replies yes. He tells Feyre to grab hold of him. Then with his free hand he grabs Nesta and Elaine and blasts off into the sky on a roar of wind.